After reincarnating, the first thing I did was send my pet dog to a breeding facility, because in my past life, my adopted daughter Jocelyn had leukemia and was on death's door, yet her beloved brother and fiancé, who had always doted on her, completely ignored her condition. On my 18th birthday, my older brother gave me a white little teddy bear puppy, my fiancé gave me a white jade piece pendant. A month later, I suddenly found myself having swapped bodies with my pet dog. And my original body was now occupied by Jocelyn. Jocelyn was holding a fireplace poker, stabbing at my body over and over again. My brother and fiancé personally skinned me alive, chopped my flesh into pieces, and stewed it into a pot of fragrant meat. After death, Jocelyn and the others feasted on the hot pot of fragrant meat. Jocelyn smiled faintly while cursing in anger. Eden is such a fool. That worthless woman actually dared to compete with me for a man. It wasn't until then that I realized Jocelyn's soul had actually been residing in the teddy bear all along. She was just waiting for me to wear that necklace for a full month, and then she could take over my body and be reborn. I died with my eyes wide open, filled with hatred and resentment. When I opened my eyes again, I had somehow returned to the day my brother gave me the teddy bear. This time, I didn't hesitate at all. I took the teddy dog straight to the dog breeding facility. Boss, set me up. I want this bitch to have 10 puppies. After the birthday banquet ended, my older brother Orion and my childhood friend Hayden finally arrived late. Orion's face showed guilt. Eden, I'm sorry, something came up at the company and I couldn't make it to your birthday. This is a gift from your big brother. Do you like it? As Orion spoke, he brought a white purebred teddy bear up to my face, and Hayden, my fiancé, was also standing by his brother's side, singing his praises. My brother went to multiple places just to pick out this pet dog for you. This little teddy is a show-quality dog and very expensive. You can see how much thought and effort my brother put into this for you. Hearing Hayden's voice, I was suddenly dazed. Meanwhile, I saw that white teddy dog and I was so scared I kept backing away. Orion thought I was sulking at him. He deliberately took 2 steps forward holding the little teddy. Eden, look, this puppy is so cute. Orion's eyes were filled with tenderness, but I flinched and pushed him away. The little teddy bear let out a startled cry as I shoved him. Woof, woof. Seeing this, my fiancé instinctively turned around and stepped in front of the little teddy bear to protect him. Orion's eyebrows instantly furrowed. He scolded me angrily. Eden, you've gone too far. I carefully picked out that gift for you. Don't be so ungrateful. These 2 scumbags. Jocelyn has already become a dog, yet they're still so anxious. At this moment, I came back to my senses. I curved my lips into a faint smile. In my past life, my brother picked up an orphan girl from outside and forced my parents to adopt Jocelyn as their daughter. From then on, Jocelyn moved into our house. She ate and lived with me. She quickly won my parents' hearts. Even my fiancé Hayden favored Jocelyn more. He would often lash out at me, saying I wasn't even worth one of Jocelyn's toes. Later, Jocelyn was diagnosed with leukemia. Her life hung by a thread. When my brother and Hayden found out about this, they remained surprisingly calm. They sent Jocelyn abroad and never mentioned her name again. My usually distant older brother and fiancé, trying to mend things with me, both gave me expensive gifts on my 18th birthday. I've always wanted to get a dog. My brother gave me a white teddy bear puppy, and I was absolutely thrilled. But this little teddy bear seems a bit off. In front of others, it's well behaved. But only when we 2 are alone in a room together, this little teddy bear becomes extremely irritable. Once, I wanted to give the little teddy bear a bath, but little Teddy was extremely aggressive, biting down hard on my wrist. It nearly bit through half my palm. I actually got reborn. My parents were away on business again. There was no one at home. I had no choice but to go get the rabies vaccine that very night. And every night, I would bring little Teddy to sleep in the same room with me. But that little teddy bear insisted on sleeping on the bed. One night late, I was half asleep when I felt a sudden warmth on my cheek. When I opened my eyes, I discovered that little teddy bear had actually peed on my face. That wasn't the only mischievous thing it did. It would shit on my vanity table and deliberately knock over all my cosmetics. It would even deliberately lick the food I was eating. And every time this little teddy bear caused trouble, it would deliberately tilt its chin up high and glare at me with an extremely hostile look. I even noticed that this little teddy bear's eyes could turn red. Its eyes were terrifyingly intense, as if it wanted to devour me whole. The next day after getting vaccinated, I raised my blood-soaked right hand high. I complained to my brother and Hayden, bro, I keep feeling like that puppy is a bit off, way too aggressive. But Orion gave me a good scolding instead. Eden, if you ask me. You're the one with the problem. Miley is such a good girl. She's usually so gentle with everyone. I think you're the one who's twisted. You must have been torturing her behind the scenes. That's why she bit you. Hayden also took my brother's side, accusing me of being extreme and not knowing how to properly care for a pet. Orion said furiously, wait a few days. If you don't like Miley, I'll take it away in a few days. Unexpectedly, it was 1 month after my birthday banquet. That morning when I woke up, I suddenly realized that I had actually entered a dog's body, and a woman who looked exactly like me raised a fireplace poker high in her hand. She swung it down hard toward my head. I barked frantically. What came out in the end was a series of woof 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 sounds. Then, my older brother and Hayden appeared. The two of them were holding bone knives, ready to skin me alive. It wasn't until then that I realized the truth. Jocelyn was never sent abroad by them. Instead, she used some method to trap her soul inside a little teddy bear. Big Brother and Hayden went to such great lengths. I just want Jocelyn to possess my body, help Jocelyn be reborn. I am Orion's own sister. I am Hayden's fiancée, betrothed since birth. But these two men closest to me, for Jocelyn's sake, not only personally flayed me alive, but even stewed my flesh and bones into a large pot of fragrant meat hot pot to nourish Jocelyn's body. I snapped back to reality. Seeing Orion and Hayden in front of me, I curved my lips into a gentle smile. Big Brother, Hayden, I'm really sorry. I was just too excited earlier. That's why I startled this little dog. This little dog is so cute. Brother, thank you for your gift. As I spoke, I held the little teddy in my arms. Immediately afterward, I secretly pinched the little teddy hard. The little teddy let out a deafening woof woof bark. I frowned slightly. Is this dog crazy or something? Why does it bark randomly all the time? My brother dodged the dog with concern. It's because you're so clumsy. You can't even hold a pet properly. Alright, I'll take Miley upstairs first. Put her on your bed. At that moment, the eldest brother turned his head and gave Hayden a look. Hayden immediately reached into his pants pocket and pulled out a jade pendant. The jade pendant was pure white without a flaw. Its shape was simply an ordinary peace coin. Eden, this is a gift I prepared for you. This jade pendant is quite valuable. We're getting married soon. I'm putting it around your neck, and you must never take it off. Hayden gave me countless reminders and instructions. He insisted I wear the jade pendant every day until our wedding. As he spoke, he eagerly fastened the jade pendant around my neck. At this moment, I reached out and touched this peace pendant. The jade was icy cold, sending shivers down my spine. In my past life, on my birthday, my older brother gave me a small teddy bear, while Hayden gave me this peace pendant. I suppose that in my past life, I eventually swapped bodies with Teddy. This peace pendant must have played a crucial role. I kept silent on the surface and slowly returned to my room. At this moment, that little teddy bear had already trashed my room beyond recognition. There was a clearly visible yellow urine stain on my pillow. The cosmetics on the dressing table had all been knocked to the ground. Even my everyday water cup had a pile of dog shit soaking in it. Without a word, I grabbed the little teddy's scruff and smacked its head hard over 10 times. The little teddy was yelping, woof woof, from the beating I gave it. I glared fiercely at this beast. You little bastard. If you dare to cause trouble again, I'll skin you alive, break every bone in your body, and stew you into a delicious hot pot. The little teddy bear seemed scared by my beating. It let out 2 whining cries, its eyes filled with fear. Just then, my older brother and Hayden suddenly burst into my room. My older brother snatched the little teddy bear from my hands. Eden, you've gone too far. How could you abuse Miley? It's just a little dog. I just heard Miley crying pitifully. How could you be so cruel to a little dog? You're absolutely heartless. My older brother shouted angrily, his eyes red with worry. Right now, I'm pointing to the scattered cosmetic fragments on the floor, the disheveled bed, and the dog feces in the teacup. What do you mean I'm bullying a dog? Look at what this beast has done. Orion, if you're so heartbroken about this dog, why don't you go ahead and eat that dog shit? As I spoke, I picked up the teacup and was about to pour it into Orion's mouth. My older brother flinched in fright, his body tensing up. He turned his head frantically, then reached out and knocked the teacup to the ground. Oh dear, Miley just arrived at our house, so it's natural she'd be a bit shy and unfamiliar. Why are you picking a fight with a dog? as my older brother spoke, he could only helplessly comfort me with gentle words. It's just a few cosmetic items, I'll buy you new ones. And those bed sheets and pillowcases of yours, I'll buy you 10 more sets, all made of silk. Eden, you must treat Miley better, otherwise, don't blame me for not recognizing you as my sister. I slapped the little teddy on the head twice right in front of Big Brother, still hoping this beast understands some human decency. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude, a dog trying to ride over my head. Simply a delusional dog dreaming. Hayden saw my fierce expression. He muttered angrily under his breath, I really don't know how my uncle and aunt could raise such a fierce and domineering daughter. Jocelyn is much more gentle, with the grace of a proper young lady. Although Hayden's voice was very low, I still heard every single word clearly. I raised my hand and slapped Hayden across the face. You like Jocelyn so much. Why don't you go find her overseas? You can go die with her. Why are you still engaged to me? Hayden's face was full of anger. But he didn't dare to lash out. After all, he and my eldest brother know full well, at this critical moment, they absolutely cannot afford to offend me. At the very least, we must wait until a month from now. Hayden forced a smile. Eden, you've misunderstood. You're the only one in my heart. Just promise me you'll wear the jade pendant I gave you around your neck, and in a month, I'll give you an even bigger surprise. My older brother, however, remained silent. He just kept giving me instructions. There's some newly bought Wagyu beef and seafood in the fridge. Miley is a show dog, so her daily diet must be top-notch. She only drinks pure milk and eats Wagyu beef for meals. When I'm not home, you have to take good care of Miley. As soon as my older brother and Hayden left the room, I immediately ordered a metal chain online, along with several bags of the cheapest, lowest quality dog food. You little beast, still want to eat Wagyu beef? Why don't you go eat shit instead? I shot little Teddy a fierce glare. Little Teddy seemed to sense it too. It hid in the corner, but that damn dog still looked at me with a sinister gaze, as if there was a father-killing grudge between us, waiting for the delivery guy to bring the chain and dog food. I just tied up the little Teddy and locked it in the bathroom. What a beast, still trying to sleep on the bed. As for eating Wagyu beef, that's pure fantasy. Dogs should eat dog food, especially the kind that's fattening and contains hormones. Otherwise, how can a puppy get chubby and win its owner's affection? After that, my workaholic older brother almost came home for a few hours every day, and Hayden, who had always been aloof, also started dropping by my house every now and then. After not seeing each other for a few days, both of them noticed that the little teddy had lost a lot of weight. My brother held the little teddy bear tightly, crying his eyes out. Hayden was even more sneaky, whispering sweet nothings to the little teddy bear. Jocelyn, you just need to hold on a little longer. In just 1 month, you'll be able to switch bodies with Eden. When that time comes, the two of us will get married, and everything will fall into place naturally. You could truly become Orion's sister, and you two siblings could be reunited. I heard these words spoken by Hayden through the surveillance in the room. My heart suddenly jolted. So Jocelyn is actually my brother's biological sister. Although Orion and I are blood related, we don't share the same mother. Back in the day, my dad broke up with his first love and then turned around to marry my mom. Who would have thought that just 3 months after their marriage, my dad's first love actually showed up at our house with a little boy in her arms. That first love said this little boy was my dad's biological child. But my dad kept swearing up and down. He was with his first love for 6 months, but they never got intimate, until that first love admitted she snuck into my dad's bed after he had been drinking. Although my mom was furious at the time, she still agreed to let my dad do a paternity test with that little boy. The DNA test confirmed that the little boy was indeed my father's biological son. My mother, being a generous person, took the little boy home and raised him as her own son. This little boy was Orion, but from that point on, my father's first love never appeared again. Could it be that Orion secretly contacted his biological mother and then brought home another half-sister from the same mother but different father? My heart was pounding with anxiety as I secretly saved the surveillance video from my phone. Then I prepared to find someone to investigate. Meanwhile, even though my older brother and Hayden realized I wasn't treating that little teddy bear well, they still didn't dare to show anything on their faces. My older brother kept giving Hayden meaningful looks, telling Hayden to continue waiting. Once the 1-month period was up, their big plan could be completed, and naturally, I couldn't just sit around waiting to die either. I secretly reached out to a friend and had them custom make an identical pendant. As for the original pendant, I wrapped it in gold and fashioned it into a square amulet, taking advantage of this opportunity. I also contacted several dog breeders. That's when I discovered one of the breeders was extremely unprofessional. Over 100 stray dogs are kept inside, all of them have skin diseases, their eyes are red, and they look like rabid dogs. These dogs include both males and females, tortured beyond recognition, thin as rail. I asked the dog farm owner, how much does it cost to breed dogs? The dog farm owner was a burly bald man. Seeing my expensive attire, he immediately demanded an outrageous price. At least 30,000. I smiled calmly and casually transferred 50,000. 10. The bald boss pointed at the hundreds of mad dogs in the kennel. Our facility has so many different kinds of dogs, breeding more won't be a problem. It's just that this little Pomeranian is so small. Let me see, I'll need to give it some strong medicine. As the boss spoke, he handed me a bag of pink powder. This is the most powerful animal vitality powder. Just give it to Teddy, I guarantee she'll have plenty of energy, then put her in my kennel for just one day. I promise she'll get pregnant. I took the and went home happily. I specially pan-fried a piece of A5 grade Wagyu beef. Didn't my older brother keep telling me to feed the little Teddy dog meat? Then naturally, I have to fulfill his wish. I was pan-frying a steak when I dumped a generous amount of dolly powder into the pan. The dolly powder mixed with the buttery aroma. And instantly the entire kitchen was filled with a strange smell, somewhat like curry. After finishing cooking, I set the steak aside to cool down. I had just sat down at the dining table, ready to have a drink of water. Just as I brought the cup to my lips, I suddenly noticed a pungent fishy smell coming from inside my water glass. Moreover, there were faint yellowish stains around the rim of the cup. I immediately realized that this must be the work of that little teddy bear again. It must be that little Teddy again, splashing dog urine into my water cup, but I clearly chained that dog up in the bathroom when I left this morning. How the hell did it get out? Just then, a familiar figure appeared behind me. Oh, you must be Miss Eden. I'm the hourly maid hired by the young master. You can just call me Mildred. Mildred. In my past life, it was also around this time. My older brother hired a part-time caregiver, saying she was responsible for taking care of me. Since my parents have been quite busy with work, they went abroad on a business trip 2 months ago. We originally had a housekeeper, but last month, for some unknown reason, our longtime nanny insisted on resigning. Since then, the huge villa has been left with just me alone. Because I've always preferred peace and quiet, I haven't hired anyone else. I occasionally call a cleaning company to have a part-time worker come over to tidy up the house. In my past life, it was today. My older brother brought Mildred home, saying she would work 5 hours a day, specifically responsible for taking care of my daily meals and living needs. But Mildred's cooking wasn't good, and she just half-assed it with me every day. I asked her to help me wash my clothes, but after washing, you could still see obvious stains on the clothes. The housekeeping at Mildred's place isn't exactly spotless. All she does every day is walk the dog. She cooks beef for the little Teddy in all sorts of ways. She even makes pork bone soup for the little guy. In my past life, I didn't notice anything suspicious until right before I died. Now that I think about it carefully, this Mildred, her eyebrows and eyes do bear a slight resemblance to Jocelyn's, and on Mildred's cheeks were also a pair of shallow dimples. This was exactly the same as Jocelyn's. Dimples are genetic. Could it be that the Mildred before me and Jocelyn? As I thought this, I didn't say much. I nodded gently. Addressing the Mildred before me, did you see the dog I had tied up in the bathroom? When I mentioned the dog, a look of sympathy appeared in Mildred's eyes. Oh, I saw it. I thought that little thing looked pretty pitiful, so I undid the chain. Miley's playing in your room right now. I didn't say much, just told Mildred to quickly clean up the restaurant. Immediately after, I carried the steak upstairs to the second floor. Back in my bedroom, I found that my bed sheets and pillowcases had been soiled with feces and urine by that little teddy bear again. Even some of my high-end clothes had been chewed full of holes by that little beast, with yellowish urine stains on them. Today's little teddy has shiny, soft, and white fur, clearly having just had a bath. Seeing the mess all over the house, I didn't get angry at first. Instead, I put the steak I was holding in front of that beast. TCH, a beast. And my older brother insists I ask you about A5 Wagyu. Go ahead, eat it. Why not stuff yourself to death? What a waste of such a good piece of beef. As I spoke, I threw the tray onto the bed, Immediately after, I pretended to sit nearby, casually playing with my phone. Meanwhile, I kept glancing at that little teddy bear from the corner of my eye. The little creature circled the plate several times, sniffing the aroma. These past few days I've been feeding it only dog food. But the little Pomeranian refuses to eat. The poor thing has become noticeably thinner from hunger. Now, at last, it sees some premium beef. The little Pomeranian sniffed it a few times, then wagged its tail and began devouring the food eagerly. Seeing this, I curled my lips into a smile. Immediately, I sent a text message to a friend, asking him to help me look into Mildred's background. I never would have known if I hadn't looked. What a shock it was to find out. It only took a few short hours before my friend had thoroughly investigated Mildred's records. This Mildred is actually my older brother's biological mother. Not only that, she's also Jocelyn's real mother, as it turns out. After Mildred left my older brother with Derek's family back then, she never left White Mountain City. Instead, she worked at a factory in the suburbs of White Mountain City and married a factory worker. A few years later, Mildred gave birth to Jocelyn. Jocelyn and my older brother Orion are half-siblings, sharing the same mother. 3 years ago, Mildred's husband was caught soliciting prostitutes in the red light district. He got into an argument with another customer over a prostitute, which escalated into a physical fight. Mildred's husband struck the other patron with excessive force, causing severe head trauma that damaged his nervous system and left him paralyzed from the neck down. After that, the man was arrested and thrown into prison. Mildred was also fired from the factory, completely losing her source of income. Meanwhile, over the years, Mildred had been secretly messaging my older brother in private. My older brother felt sorry for his biological mother, but he felt even more sorry for Jocelyn, his younger sister, so he brought Jocelyn home, claiming she was an orphan and a student in need. Then he pressured my parents to adopt Jocelyn as their daughter, and she moved in with our family. Knowing these circumstances, I remained calm and composed. That evening, I waited until Mildred finished work. I tied up little Teddy once again, and this time, I gave him more than just that strong medicine. I even bought a syringe. I diluted the powder into a liquid and injected it into its body bit by bit. By around 10 o'clock at night, the little Pomeranian was lying on the ground, panting heavily. Meanwhile, I contacted the dog breeder and sent the little Pomeranian directly to the breeding facility. In the blink of an eye, it was already the next morning. I had just gotten out of bed when I discovered that Mildred had already arrived at the villa. She was holding a cloth in her hand, preparing to enter my room to clean. I deliberately placed the gold Buddha amulet containing the peace pendant on the nightstand. Mildred has sticky fingers. In my past life, she worked as a part-time housekeeper for me, and I caught her touching many of my pieces of jewelry. I let Mildred into the room and told her to tidy up my dressing table first. As soon as she pulled open the drawer of the dressing table, it was filled with gold and jewels. The sight made Mildred's eyes sparkle. I held up the large golden Buddha amulet and dangled it in front of Mildred. Mildred, do you like gold? Mildred was taken aback by my question. I like it. I casually shoved the Buddha amulet into Mildred's hands. Then it's yours. This Buddha amulet was a gift from a classmate of mine a few days ago for my birthday. Gold may be valuable, but it's just too tacky. Not to mention, I'm currently wearing a peace pendant around my neck that Hayden gave me. You have no idea. Hayden is my fiancé. He put a lot of thought into giving me this precious gift. As I spoke, I deliberately ran my hand over the fake pendant on my neck. Mildred saw this and nodded approvingly. She couldn't help but give me some advice. Oh my, this jade pendant is really beautiful. It's clearly quite valuable. Miss Eden, you must wear it every day. If you lose it, your fiancé will surely be heartbroken. Mildred said this while hearing that I wanted to give her the Buddha amulet. She immediately couldn't wait to hang that piece of gold around her neck. Mildred. Miss Eden, where's the dog from your house? How come I don't see Miley? I frowned instantly. Mildred, am I your master? Or is that dog your master? That dog has been given away by me, so don't bother looking for it. As I spoke, I stretched luxuriously. Upon hearing this, Mildred was so anxious that she stamped her feet in frustration, but dared not show any reaction in front of me. Mildred took her phone and sneaked into the kitchen to make a call. About half an hour later, both Orion and Hayden arrived one after another. Orion had barely stepped through the front door when he called out impatiently, Eden, get out here. Where did you send Miley? Hayden's eyes were also blazing with anger. Eden, you're absolutely despicable. Miley was so adorable. Why are you deliberately targeting it? At this moment, the more anxious Orion and Hayden became, the more I wanted to laugh inside. I sat on the soft sofa and said calmly, "It's just a beast." "Why are you all in such a hurry?" Orion grabbed my wrist and glared at me fiercely. "Tell me quickly, who did you give Miley to?" I shrugged. "Ate it, skinned it, gutted it, and stewed it into a fragrant hot pot." My eyes were full of mocking laughter. Hayden nearly fainted from shock upon hearing this. Orion, however, was smarter. He knew I never ate dog meat. "Eden, stop being ridiculous. If you really don't like Miley, I'll come pick her up in a few days. Tell me quickly. Where did you send her?" I parted my lips slightly. Since it's a female dog, and a valuable show-quality breed, of course I wanted to breed more. "Miley is at a kennel in the suburbs. She's probably a mother by now." Upon hearing my words, Hayden's eyes rolled back and he nearly fainted. Mildred was even more anxious, tears streaming down her face. Surprisingly, Orion was the calmest. He immediately rushed out of the villa, jumped into the car, and prepared to go to the dog kennel to pick up Miley. However, the price I gave the kennel owner was not low. When I had the kennel owner take the little teddy away last night, I specifically instructed him, I wanted the breeding done that same night, the sooner the better. I naturally couldn't miss such a scene. I was driving too, right behind Orion's car. Hayden also drove, taking Mildred with him, and we all headed to the dog pound together. We entered the facility. All we could see was that little Pomeranian surrounded by dozens of stray dogs in the center. That little Pomeranian had been given some kind of drug and tortured all through the night. Now it was foaming at the mouth, lying in the middle barely alive. When Hayden saw this, he anxiously grabbed a stick and swung it at the stray dogs surrounding the little Pomeranian. Unfortunately, there were too many stray dogs in the dog park. Hayden had just picked up an offensive weapon when a pack of wild dogs surged toward him. Even though both Hayden and Orion resisted, they couldn't hold back against the overwhelming number of dogs in the park. Hayden was bitten on the thigh by a black Tibetan Mastiff. Orion also had a chunk of flesh torn from his arm by a large yellow dog. In the end, the dog park owner had to step in. At the boss's whistle, these stray dogs immediately returned to their cages as if they could understand human speech. At this moment, both Hayden and Orion were injured, but the two men were still extremely worried about little Teddy. Hayden didn't care about the wound on his thigh. Instead, he first took little Teddy to the veterinary hospital for examination. Two men were so worked up over one dog that they were practically out of their minds. This scene was absolutely hilarious and amusing. Hayden and Orion spent the entire day fussing over this dog, while I went back to the villa all by myself for a lovely nap. I know the timing isn't right yet. No matter what I do, those two won't touch me. That evening, Orion brought the little Teddy home by himself. His face was dark, and it was clear he had been crying. I'm afraid that by now, Orion probably hates me with a passion, but he still didn't dare to lay a hand on me, only speaking to me in soft, gentle tones. "Eden, I'm warning you not to cause any more trouble. If you help me take care of Miley for one more month, I'll send her away. You're not allowed to take her to the dog pound, otherwise, I'll fight you to the death." I casually raised an eyebrow. "She's just a dog. If you don't trust me, just take her away now." But Orion was screaming like a madman. It seems my hunch was almost right, to make Jocelyn and me swap bodies. I don't just need to wear that pendant around my neck for a month. I also have to make sure Jocelyn stays by my side every single day for that month. So, I came up with a plan right away. "Oh, didn't you hire a housekeeper? Tomorrow, just give Mildred some extra money and have her stay at our place. From now on, Miley will be taken care of by Mildred full-time." Upon hearing my words, Orion finally breathed a sigh of relief. The very next morning, Mildred moved into my house and devoted herself entirely to taking care of that little creature. Mildred truly treated that little creature like her own daughter. She gave it baths and brushed its fur, even tying a pretty pink bow around its neck. Before I knew it, a month had passed. That morning, Orion and Hayden burst into my room as soon as they woke up. Hayden rushed to the bed and pulled me into his arms. "Jocelyn, it's done. It's finally done. You're finally back with me. Thank goodness, Jocelyn." At that moment, I rolled my eyes dramatically at Hayden. Immediately, I shoved him away with all my might. Raising my hand, I slapped him hard across the face. "You sick pervert, what's wrong with you?" "Hayden, I'm warning you, although we're engaged, we're not married yet, and I won't let you act like a creep." Hearing my tone, Hayden's expression turned terrified. You're Eden." I twirled a strand of my hair around my finger. "Of course not. if I weren't Eden, would I be your mother? Hayden exchanged a glance of utter astonishment with Orion. He muttered under his breath, how is this possible? Orion grabbed Hayden's wrist. He whispered, don't tip them off yet, it might not be time. Upon hearing this, Hayden glared at me fiercely. Immediately after, he suddenly started tearing at my clothes. Only when he saw the protective amulet still hanging around my neck did Hayden finally let out a breath of relief. Shortly thereafter, two people exited my room. I got dressed and waited for the show to begin. The first thing these two did after leaving was naturally to go to the maid's quarters to see that little Pomeranian. I even saw a hemp rope tied around Hayden's waist, so he really wanted to get rid of me. He even prepared a hemp rope, but when the two reached the maid's quarters, the door had just been pushed open. Just then, Mildred came bouncing out of the room. Mildred instantly jumped into Hayden's arms. Hayden, we did it, Mildred said. Still clutching a blood-stained hook in her hand, Mildred's face was full of malicious glee. We finally made it. Early this morning, I found myself able to speak human language, with hands, with legs, and I've already dealt with that beast, that damn dog. The moment I got up this morning, it dared to bark wildly again. I used a hook to dig into its head and gouged out its eyeballs. Mildred spoke with great enthusiasm. She didn't notice the look of shock in Hayden and Orion's eyes at all. Meanwhile, Hayden pushed Mildred away with one hand. You old woman, what the hell are you trying to do? Old lady, what old lady? Mildred's face was full of astonishment. At that moment, only Orion realized what had happened. Orion rushed into the nanny's room and saw the bloody, mangled teddy dog on the floor. Orion let out a hoarse, desperate scream. Ah, Mom. Hearing Orion call for his mom, Mildred was taken aback. She rushed into the bathroom to look in the mirror. When Jocelyn saw her own face, she was completely stunned. How did I end up looking like my mom? What is going on here? At that moment, I was standing upstairs, practically bursting with excitement and laughter. I clapped for them with great satisfaction. Hey, Mildred, didn't you love Miley so much? How could you kill that beast? Brother, you're really ridiculous. Calling a bitch, Mom. Could it be that you were born from a dog? Watching this unfold, they finally realized what had happened. Everyone had been played by me. Hayden shook his head frantically. How is this possible? That jade pendant. I yanked the jade pendant from around my neck. You mean this? My neck is made of stone. Can't you all tell? As for the real one, of course I had it encased in gold and sent it to Mildred. And Mildred at this moment. No, to be precise, it should be Jocelyn. Jocelyn crouched on the ground, weeping gently in the breeze. You only get one chance to switch lives. Am I supposed to spend the rest of my life in this ancient, decrepit body? Eden, I want you dead. You're the one who ruined me. Orion was so furious he spat blood. After all, his biological mother had already been hacked to pieces by his own sister with a fireplace poker, her eyes gouged out and her body mutilated beyond recognition. These three people rushed up the stairs like madmen, trying to take me down with them. Just then, I clapped my hands gently. Several burly men in black immediately rushed out of my room. These men in black were bodyguards I had hired in advance. They had been hiding upstairs in my house. The group of bodyguards were well trained, and with just a few punches and kicks, they had Orion, Hayden, and Mildred pinned to the ground. Even so, Orion was still laughing maniacally like a madman. Eden, you won't be for long, let me tell you. Your parents are about to die. The entire is in my hands. I am the only heir. The day I take over the group, I will personally kill you to avenge my mother. Just then, a stern voice rang out from the villa's entrance. Orion, who are you going to kill? The speaker was none other than my father. It turns out that Orion and Hayden's schemes targeted not just me, but also my parents, in my past life. After my death, my parents were unable to return home from their business trip. Orion had bribed my father's driver. While my parents were on a business trip out of town, the driver deliberately staged a car accident and killed both of my parents. In this lifetime, the first thing I did after being reborn was to contact my parents. I believe them 100%. They even told me everything about my past life. Therefore, my parents were already on high alert. They cut their business trip short and rushed back to Baishan City immediately. Seeing my parents still standing safely at the door, Orion shook his head frantically like a madman. That's it, this time it's all over. And my father was even more furious with this bastard. Orion, you have truly disappointed me. Eden is your own sister, and you actually wanted to kill her, all these years. Your Aunt Ma and I have nurtured you like this, yet you want to kill us, Orion roared like a madman. Derek. Don't think I don't know, you've always been the most biased. You cultivated me only to make me a deputy, all the family's wealth. You want to hand over to that little girl Eden. Why, just because my mom was born in the countryside, you're going to abandon her, just because I'm not the son of that despicable woman. So you're completely satisfied with favoring Eden. I'm going to kill you, you ungrateful bastard. Kill all of you. At that moment, my dad let out a helpless sigh. Orion. You're just as vicious as your biological mother. Back then, I never actually dated your biological mother, and you're not my son at all, you're my younger brother's child. But since my brother died young and your mother was already pregnant, I had no choice but to admit that I had dated your mother. All of it was just to give you a family. When Orion heard my father's words, he shook his head frantically. No, impossible. This can't be happening. It's not true. My father was completely disappointed with Orion. He immediately ordered the bodyguards to kick him out of the house. As for Hayden, the Hayden family's business had always been dependent on our group. My father barely lifted a finger, and within a month, the Hayden family declared bankruptcy. The entire Hayden family had no choice but to end up on the streets begging for food, although Jocelyn had taken over Mildred's body. Mildred was after all old and suffering from cancer, within a few months. Mildred also died in the hospital. In the blink of an eye, I received an admission letter from a prestigious foreign university. I'm preparing to study abroad, majoring in finance, so I can return home and take over the family business. As for that dead dog named Miley, in the end, I still made it into a fragrant hot pot. It's just that I've never eaten dog meat in my life. I sent that hot pot to a dog shelter. Let like dissolve like. That fragrant meat hot pot should be left for those stray dogs to digest. Story 2. On the first day of the Lunar New Year, as zombies erupted, the butler suddenly mutated. Being the true heiress of a wealthy family, I found myself abandoned by my parents and brother, who chose to save the fake heiress instead. Facing the gaping maw of a zombie, I was not scared. Instead, I smiled eerily. I have been through reincarnation 10 times now, and each time I die, I am reborn. Rather than watching the weak fight bloodily over scraps of food in this apocalyptic world, I prefer to see their expressions of sheer panic. That is the true source of my joy, and in this life, I am determined to end their lives in the most perfect way possible. Upon returning, the first sight that greeted me was my longed-for family. Wesley's parents were dressed in festive colors, and Wesley himself had his hair neatly trimmed, looking radiant. At that moment, all eyes were focused on the red envelope that had fallen from me, their gazes filled with reproach. Wesley frowned. Isabella, what has Amelia done to you? Mom and Dad gave you a red envelope too. Why did you steal Amelia's? Brother, let it be. If sister wants it, let her have it. I've enjoyed so much luxury and your affection in this family for years. It was meant to be repaid. Amelia spoke defiantly, tugging at Wesley's sleeve, her voice tinged with a pitiful tone. Wesley's mother, knowing Amelia was sensible, felt reassured yet pained. Ever since their biological daughter returned, she felt Amelia had grown more insecure. Isabella, this is where you are wrong. Amelia is nominally your sister. Yes, it was our oversight when you were born, but we've been trying to make amends. You can't take it out on Amelia. Wesley's father sighed. Amelia, I'll make it up to you with another red envelope. Mom, don't persuade her. She's bullied Amelia several times. You know her attitude. Her adoptive mother is a serial killer. She lived with a monster for 15 years. I doubt she's any good. Amelia subtly curled her lips, her provocative gaze at me unseen by the others. The same scene, the same looks. They were indeed adorable. When I first returned, my own brother was hostile towards me, and the entire family seemed unwelcoming. Even the compensation spoken of by our parents was underpinned by their coddling of Amelia. And they never even considered changing my surname. Despite this, Amelia continued to enjoy our parents' favor, unscrupulously scheming to slander me, deliberately embarrassing me, and this so-called red envelope was also intentionally placed in my pocket by her. Wasn't her goal just to drive me away? Of course, I knew, honestly, I didn't care about their attitudes towards me. My purpose in returning was merely to play a game with them. Unfortunately, who would have known that within a few days, zombies would break out? I wonder if my dear sister, upon seeing a zombie, would show that pale, terrified face again. Controlling the excitement in my eyes, I warmly smiled. Brother, aren't you indirectly scolding Amelia as well? I might have lived with a murderer for 15 years, but doesn't Amelia have a blood relation to a murderer? Amelia's face changed slightly, and despite feeling uncomfortable, she had to maintain her understanding demeanor. Because of this, not only would our parents feel pity for her, but Isabella would always be trampled under her feet. Brother, don't speak that way about our sister. We are a family, we should live harmoniously, not be at odds with each other. Wesley affectionately touched her hair. Amelia, you're just too kind. I watched the affectionate scene of their family in front of me and couldn't help but smile meaningfully. I remember in previous lives, due to the outbreak of the zombie virus, they dared not venture out until the food at home was completely exhausted, while others had to fend for themselves after only a few days without food. I had to share all the food I found outside with them, allowing them to reap the benefits without effort. That's how people are. If they enjoy the fruits of others' labor for too long, they lose the ability to survive independently and become parasites. In a post-apocalyptic world, this is particularly deadly. Initially, I provided enough food for 4 people, then gradually reduced it to the amount for 1. At first, the brother and parents would save the food for the sister. However, driven by hunger, survival instincts magnified their selfishness. They no longer yielded to each other and even fought violently over a small amount of food. Every time, the dear family turned on each other like wild beasts driven mad. Thinking of this, my gaze fell on the butler standing not far away against the wall. Sure enough, there was a deep bite mark on his hand, and his face was pale and weak, as if he was about to collapse. Without a second's delay, he collapsed silently to the ground. I watched, as he fell even a few minutes earlier than I had anticipated. The servants hurried over to check on him, and both Wesley's father and mother looked visibly nervous. Although Aaron was just a butler, he had worked for Wesley's family for many years, always diligent and hardworking. In these years, competitors had been eyeing the Sue family greedily. They couldn't afford an incident now. Amelia had hoped to seize this rare opportunity to gain favor, but before she could approach, the butler moved. Suddenly, the previously motionless butler stood up, his face visibly stiffening at a rapid pace, his eyes bulging abnormally with bloodshot veins, his expression ferocious. Staggering like a zombie straight out of a movie. Ah! Amelia screamed in terror, and the servants fled in fear, some so weak-kneed they were caught by the zombie and bitten relentlessly. Blood splattered everywhere. The sounds of tearing flesh and agonized screams created a terrifying atmosphere. Wesley's father and mother were too scared to speak. Wesley, trying to appear calm, said, "Mom, Dad, Amelia, let's go to the basement to hide." I quietly enjoyed the delightful expressions on their faces, my heart pounding with excitement amidst the happiness. Indeed, this thrill was unlike any felt from killing. Every expression of theirs made my blood boil, as the zombie approached within 2 meters of me. Just like in the previous 9 cycles, they abandoned me again. I saw my parents and brother, not forgetting to grab Amelia's hand as they escaped to the nearest basement on the ground floor, and once again, I was forgotten. Watching the zombies gaping maw, I wasn't frightened. Instead, I smiled eerily. I pulled out a sharp German military dagger I carried with me and cleanly chopped off the zombie's neck. Even those servants who had been bitten and infected were mercilessly stabbed in the neck by me. In one night, except for the servants who escaped the villa, I had killed all the zombies inside. Bodies lay everywhere, the thick scent of blood permeating every corner of the hall. I expertly disposed of the bodies in the garage, repeatedly wiping the bloodstains on the floor until I was satisfied. After cleaning the dagger and disinfecting it, I cherished it back into its sheath and concealed it in my clothing. At the same time, I knocked on the securely locked door of the basement. "Mom, Dad, are you in there?" Wesley's mother, leaning on Wesley's father, choked up. "Isabella, are you all right?" I squinted with interest. "Mom, don't worry, I'm fine." What a good mother. Concerned about me, or worried I might turn into a zombie, Wesley's mother hesitated. "So, what should we do now?" Wesley shook his head repeatedly. "Mom, it's too dangerous outside. We can't open the door. I just watched a live broadcast from the authorities. The zombie virus has broken out globally, and many people have been infected. We can't take that risk. But what about our sister? She's still out there." Amelia, looking anxious, pleaded, "Brother, let's open the door. I don't want our sister to turn into a zombie. Besides, we are family." Wesley frowned upon hearing this. Family. He had never accepted Isabella as his sister. No one could replace Amelia. "Isabella, What was she? Just a murderer's daughter. I remained calm, with no turmoil inside, based on my so-called sister's pretentious speech. Her desire to let me in was obviously fake. Among them, she was the one who most wanted me to turn into a zombie, since they weren't opening the door. There was no need for me to keep waiting here. Once they ran out of food in the basement, they would naturally come out. I decided to leave them hanging for a few days as a small punishment. Walking out of the villa and heading towards the city center a few kilometers ahead, the neighborhoods along the road and the streets themselves were in disarray. On what was supposed to be a festive day, the streets were deserted. And the big red lanterns hanging at the entrance of malls were all destroyed by zombies. Cars were overturned everywhere. As others hid in their apartments, they looked strangely at the girl who dared to come out alone. My God, who is this, daring to come out alone? These zombies are so terrifying. This girl must be tired of living. My lord, another one to turn into a zombie. A few zombies noticed me and lunged at me with bared fangs. I quickly stepped back, catching a glimpse of the onlookers in the windows, a slight smile appearing on my lips despite the chaos. I swiftly drew my dagger, and using my agile movements, quickly dispatched the approaching zombies. It seemed the zombies learned that I was not to be trifled with, as they dispersed quite temperamentally, with the surprised gazes of others upon me. I made my way to an underground supermarket. The supermarket was large, stocked with all the essentials, and what's more, everything was free. However, the sight of a bloody cashier's desk and uninfected bodies under the shelves made me cautious. It was clear that there were others here besides myself. I chuckled softly to myself, almost as if I had stumbled upon something amusing. As I continued to explore the supermarket, I saw several women on the ground, stripped of their clothes and covered in blood. I glanced briefly at them, then looked up to see a muscular man not far ahead, and turned to find another burly man behind me. They looked rough and ready, clearly not good people. I pretended not to notice their predatory stares and smiled warmly. That's great. I thought I was the only one. The zombies outside are really frightening. Uncle, did you also escape here? The two men looked puzzled as they exchanged glances filled with meaning. The muscular man was the first to respond. Yes, young lady, with us here, we'll protect you. Really? I exclaimed, surprised yet skeptical. But why aren't the women lying on the ground moving, and why are they undressed? I glanced at their sleazy faces and saw through everything. Was it you? The burly man tried to smooth things over. Of course, it was the zombies. We've already taken care of them. I nodded, my gaze piercing, deliberately lowering my guard to bait them. Seeing me drop my guard, the two men grew excited, inching closer while reassuring me that this place was safe and that they would protect me. Unable to contain himself, the muscular man tackled me when he was less than a meter away. Little darling, let me give you a kiss. This tender girl, I want to be the first to taste. The muscular man paused, feeling something wet on his stomach. Looking down, he saw a cold dagger plunged into his belly, blood gushing out in deep red streams. We looked eye to eye, and I smiled sinisterly. Not so fast. I didn't agree. The burly man exploded in anger. You little bitch, are you asking for death? I swiftly pulled out the dagger, blood splattering onto my clothes, and pushed the body off me. I dodged the burly man's kick. Hee, it's not me who's going to die, it's you, damn it. The burly man gritted his teeth, but he was quickly subdued by me. From a young age, my foster mother trained me. Besides going to school, I spent my days practicing so-called killing techniques on animals she captured. After 9 cycles, killing had become almost second nature to me. But I never actually enjoyed killing. What I really liked was seeing the expression of despair and fear on people's faces when they faced death. That was my true pleasure. I didn't kill the burly man right away. Instead, I simply knocked him out and tied him up in the freezer of the storage room. To prevent him from calling for help, I stuffed his mouth with several sanitary pads. After everything was set, I packed a large backpack with plenty of compressed biscuits and mineral water. This should last me about 4 days. After 4 days, there would be 3 days of heavy rain, which would be followed by the first wave of a zombie surge in this post-apocalyptic world. Zombies mainly use smell and sound to locate humans. Water not only dilutes human scent but the sound of falling rain also confuses them, thereby weakening their abilities. The supermarket wasn't a hidden or safe place, and I didn't want to linger, taking advantage of the few zombies nearby. I took a path that avoided large gatherings of them. I reached a small motel, killed a few zombies blocking the entrance, and found all the room keys at the counter. Before I could head upstairs, I heard banging and desperate cries from above. Bang, 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 open the door. Is anybody there? The voice of a girl breaking down reached my ears, sounding vaguely familiar. I know you're in there. Why won't you open the door, Abigail Grace? I always do what you two ask. You sent me to buy lunch. So I went. You treat me like a sidekick. I've never spoken ill of you. You always leave me behind. Can't you think of me this time? The zombies haven't reached here yet. What are you scared of? Why won't you open the door? As I ascended the stairs, the one banging on the door turned out to be Evelyn, universally regarded as a model student by the school teachers. I heard her family was poor, and upon discovering that Abigail and Grace were well off, she desperately became their lackey. Not only leading the bullying of other students with them but also making some extra money on the side, one face for the teachers, another for the peers. She played the two-faced game even better than my seemingly sweet sister. Seeing the keys in my hand, Evelyn looked as if she had seen a savior. Isabella, is it you? Great, you have the keys. Can you open the door for me? I ignored her, just checking the room number on the key, and headed towards the room at the end of the hallway. Isabella. Isabella, I told you to open the door for me, didn't you hear? When Evelyn realized I was ignoring her, she became furious and tried to snatch the keys from me. I quickly dodged her hand and said with a hint of danger in my tone, "Don't mess with me, Evelyn. I really hate it when people try to take things from me." Only then did she notice the bloodstains on me. Thinking I was bitten, she boldly said, "Isabella, you see, the building is full of zombies. We're classmates. You can't just leave me to die, right?" And you, suppressing the discomfort inside, I suddenly changed my tone and forced a kind smile. "What good are they? Stick with me instead. I'll take good care of you." Evelyn was clearly scared. You're not turning into a zombie, are you? I'm not hurt, don't worry. This isn't my blood. Hearing faint noises from the stairwell and terrified of the zombies, Evelyn quickly agreed to my plan. Little did she know what awaited her was my full intent to kill. Naughty things are better dealt with sooner rather than later. In this short time, the world has descended into complete chaos. Emergency high-level alerts have been triggered worldwide. Governments have deployed their militaries to suppress the mutated zombies and have announced measures to ensure the continued supply of internet, electricity, and water. They are also airdropping supplies into residential areas nationwide to mitigate the impact of food shortages. It's the fourth day of the zombie outbreak. I've been keeping an eye on official news and noticed many people going out to collect the airdropped supplies, but the nation has vastly underestimated human nature. Even though supplies are dropped by helicopter, people's selfish instincts are blatantly apparent in these end times. Some people, in their greed for supplies, have pushed their companions into hordes of zombies or even killed others after obtaining the supplies to take their share. At night, sounds of collisions and wailing often intermingle. In the evening, I see continuous messages popping up in the family group chat. The person who keeps tagging me is my so-called little sister, Amelia. Amelia, sister, where are you? Dad, Mom, and brother are really worried about you. Amelia, it's all my fault. I should have asked brother to open the door sooner. Please, don't let anything happen to you. Amelia, sister, if you can see this message, please come back soon. We all miss you. Can't they even last 4 days? I quickly skimmed through the messages on my phone, scoffed, and replied, Amelia, don't worry, I'm fine outside. Wesley, Isabella, do you think it's okay? You went out and left Mom and Dad behind. Have you thought about what we should do? Interesting. They were the first to be unkind, yet they don't allow me to be unjust. Isn't this moral coercion? I sneered and replied, brother, I went out for your sake. You wouldn't open the door, and I couldn't just stay home wasting your food. Instead of praising me, you blame me. Wesley, nonsense. The day after you left, someone broke into our house. They stole all the food, Dad, Mom, Amelia, and I have been surviving on tap water these past few days. Do you know that? Amelia, brother, stop it. It's not sister's fault. We're just trying to protect ourselves. It's not my sister's fault. In the end, it's all about blaming me. This feeling makes me very uncomfortable. Wesley, if you're not infected and have a shred of conscience, bring back some supplies. Don't let me look down on you. Isabella, without our parents taking you in, you would have been an orphan by now. Huh, how righteous he sounds. Wesley's father. Enough. Wesley, hold your tongue. Wesley, Dad, I'm not wrong. Besides, isn't this what you all think? Wesley's mother. Isabella, your brother speaks harshly. don't take it to heart, we really had no other choice but to come to you for help. Besides, it's not safe for you to be out there alone. If you come back, the family can look out for each other." As I watched them spout righteousness and morality, I had no intention of continuing to engage with them. These people are more nauseating with their hypocritical faces than frank murderers. By the 9th cycle, I had grown accustomed and tired of dealing with them. My gaze fell on the blood-stained plastic bags in the corner of the room, and a flower bloomed in my heart. It felt like indulging in a juicy watermelon on a scorching summer day, unable to hide the excitement within. This time, I was sure to preserve them in a brand new way. Finally, it was the 5th day. The hustle and bustle seen during the new year had completely vanished by now. The streets were empty except for the wandering zombies. Many households had either run out of supplies or had them stolen by people with ulterior motives. Even if one dared to gather supplies, zombies menacingly lurked beneath the apartment buildings, and not everyone had the strength to bring the supplies back safely. Those with a bit of fighting ability became a delightful feast for the zombies. Occasionally, a gaunt figure walking through the corridor was prepared to die, fearlessly charging into the zombie horde to be gruesomely bitten. A bolt of lightning streaked across the sky, followed by howling winds and rolling dark clouds. Pearl-like raindrops hit the ground, indicating a heavy downpour was imminent. Seizing the moment, I quickly packed my backpack and made my way to the nearest university, avoiding zombies before the network was disrupted by the rain. I used memories from previous lives to locate the biochemical factory on my smartphone map. After gradually transporting solutions like formalin and alcohol to the laboratory by car, it was nearly dark. I wiped the sweat from my forehead, locked the laboratory door, and made sure I wouldn't be discovered before daring to return to the hotel in the rain. Along the way, I also grabbed a few boxes of cold and anti-inflammatory medicine from a pharmacy. Until I noticed signs of tampering on my hotel room door, which immediately darkened my expression. Indeed, while I was showering, a female voice shattered my suspicions. "Brother Sue, we didn't lie to you. I and Grace really saw my classmate with a big backpack entering this room, and she also had the keys to all our rooms." Jealousy gleamed in Grace's eyes. "Having been starving for days, yeah, we saw it clearly through the peephole. Evelyn is inside too." The bald man known as Brother Sue clicked his tongue. "Don't fool me. If there's nothing inside after all this trouble with the lock, I'll start with you too." Just from their conversation, I understood the whole story. Apparently, the noises and moans I could faintly hear while sleeping at night weren't just from men picking locks. It was possible that the guests inside had endured inhuman treatment. No matter how many times I've been reborn, I've seen people cannibalize their own kind out of a survival instinct, and some bandits specifically capture others to supplement their food when supplies run out. It's nothing unusual. So, these two were planning to join this bandit in robbing my supplies. Click, click, the sound of the lock being picked continued, and the door began to shake. I quickly dressed, grasped the freshly cleaned dagger, and hid at the corner near the door, ready to strike. Outside the door, Abigail exclaimed in surprise, "Brother Sue, the door is loosening up. You're amazing." Brother Sue is indeed Brother Sue. No wonder he's so formidable. Hearing their encouragement, Baldy felt a bit of pride. He ferociously pulled and knocked at the lock, which didn't endure more than a few minutes before it was pried open beyond recognition. It's open, it's open." Just as the door swung open and Baldy was about to step inside, I, hidden by the wall, swiftly stabbed him in the lower back right under Abigail and Grace's watchful eyes. Baldy cried out in pain and swung the steel pipe in his hand towards my head. I quickly sidestepped, pulled out the dagger, and distanced myself from him. Instantly, a long gash appeared on his lower back, pale and ghastly. Slowly, blood began to ooze and then spurt out violently from the wound. With his face contorted in anger, Baldy clutched his bleeding wound. Seeing him like this, I knew he was no longer a threat to me. Abigail and Grace were utterly panicked. "Isabella, have you lost your mind? This is assault. Are you discussing law with me?" "Abigail," I said with a slight smile, pointing the blood-stained tip of my knife at them, "I'd like to ask you, after all the trouble you went through to break into my place without my permission and trying to steal my supplies, isn't that illegal?" Trying to appear calm, Grace's face had thinned, her skull visibly protruding. "Isabella, have you no conscience? You have supplies and refuse to help your classmates, hoarding them all for yourself and then accuse us. Yeah, you helped Evelyn, why won't you help us? Just so you know, we heard your conversation with Evelyn, watching them go back and forth. I picked up a bag from the corner and threw it in front of them. Take a look for yourselves. Their eyes lit up, initially thinking it was supplies. They grabbed the bag, but as they tussled over it, the bag tore open and a round human head fell out. Screams. Upon a closer look, a pair of bright, terrified eyes and a grotesque face with a severed neck full of coagulated blood sent chills down the spine. Wasn't this Evelyn? Abigail and Grace were instantly terrified, their eyes filled with fear and disbelief as they looked at me. Abigail's pupils constricted, her body trembling with fear. You actually killed someone. I paused, then laughed. Abigail, you're quite something. What times are we living in now? If I hadn't killed her, would have been the one dead. You think just because you're young, you can ambush and defeat me? Do you think I'm a vegetarian? Baldy spat out, used to looting and killing. Such minor threats did nothing to faze him. Ignoring his bleeding wound, he kicked the severed head aside, his fighting spirit soaring high. I, far from panicked, assumed a defensive stance. The steel pipe swung towards me, tracing an elegant arc in the air. I thought it would surely hit my temple, but my dagger faintly caught it. Seizing the moment of his shock, I kicked fiercely at his groin. He screamed in agony, staggering backward. This is all on you. I didn't plan to let him off. When Baldy was defenseless, I kicked him to the ground and stomped on his head, stabbing his throat several times with practiced ease. Blood splattered. Disgusted, I frowned, quickly wiping off the blood that had sprayed onto my face, while catching Abigail and Grace's pale expressions out of the corner of my eye. A chilling breeze blew from behind. Abigail and Grace were covered in goosebumps from head to toe. Suddenly, the sky was lit with flashes of lightning and the sound of thunder roared. My face, smeared with blood, resembled a roaring beast, terrifying them to their core. In a panic, they rushed to escape, but in their haste, both tripped over the doorstep. I revealed a warm and clean smile, gripping a dagger as I slowly approached them. You two have three choices. 1. Be killed by me. 2. Be bitten to death by zombies. Or 3. Let me choose for you. Decide for yourselves. I'm actually quite nice. Anyway, you're going to die, so why not end your suffering sooner rather than later? Abigail burst into tears. No, don't. I don't want to die yet, Isabella. It was my fault. I shouldn't have targeted you. I was wrong, Isabella. We were forced into this. It was that bald man. He wanted to kill us. We had to tell him you had supplies, or he wouldn't let us go. We didn't do it on purpose. Tears streamed down Grace's face as she knelt on the ground, the fear of death stripping her of her dignity. I'm begging you, please spare me, please. Both began to bow down to me, their heads knocking against the floor loudly, groveling and showing their ugliest sides. They abandoned all dignity and decency in their desperation to live. At that moment, I couldn't describe my feelings, and I didn't even bother to lift my eyelids. Enough with the nonsense. If you won't choose, I'll choose for you. Realizing that pleading was futile, Abigail stopped bowing. As the blade nearly slit her throat, she glared at me with the most venomous look. Isabella, you will not die a good death. I will haunt you even as a ghost, on the 7th day of the zombie outbreak. After enduring a heavy rain, the nation, limited by human resources, was unable to keep its promises. Apart from water supply, the internet and electrical lines were severely damaged, with the networks paralyzed and varying degrees of disruption. Mobile phones became useless as well. Walking through the rain towards the villa area, I could still spot a few survivors scavenging for food. The continuous downpour had raised the water levels, dispersing many zombies nearby. But by tomorrow evening at 7, when the water recedes, a massive wave of zombies would surge forth. All I could do now was hurry back to the villa. From the second-floor window, Amelia saw me. Sister, you're back. I was surprised, even more so because they had opened the door for me. Noticing their gaunt figures, I managed to hold back my emotions and handed the backpack to Wesley. Brother, I've brought supplies. You can't blame me now. Right, that's more like it. Wesley was very satisfied. He took out compressed biscuits from the backpack, biting into them one after another, and didn't forget to share with his father and mother. The three of them devoured the food, a far cry from their usual haughty demeanor. I smiled faintly, noticing Amelia hadn't touched the compressed biscuits, her lips still trembling. Sister, what's wrong? You look so thin. Is something bothering you? My face showed concern as I reached out to touch her, but she dodged away. Amelia bit her lip, smiling sweetly. Sister, thank goodness for you. I smiled lightly. Don't mention it. We're family after all. After they had finished eating, I went to my room to change into clean clothes. Just as I was about to urge them to pack up, Amelia cheerfully brought me a bottle of mineral water. Sister, here you go, you must be tired. Have some water. I slightly deepened the smile at the corner of my mouth, reaching out to take the water bottle she handed me. As her eyes relaxed, I leaned in close to her ear and whispered at a volume only the two of us could hear. Amelia, do you think you could survive without me? Clearly caught off guard by my question, Amelia's expression shifted from shock to composure as she replied, What are you talking about, sister? How could we possibly die? I believe our family will make it through. I looked at her with a peculiar gaze. That's true. Amelia is so smart. I believe even without me, you would still survive. Then, I turned and went downstairs, keeping a wary eye out. I tried twisting the bottle cap and found it hadn't been tampered with. Reassured, I took a sip. After instructing them to pack the essentials, I led them to a high-rise apartment building I had visited in my past 5 lives. Although the top floor required climbing stairs, it effectively reduced the risk of zombie attacks. Zombies are strong but not agile, making stairs a difficult obstacle for them, and if I remember correctly, this so-called apocalypse only lasted a year. During that year, there were 3 waves of zombie outbreaks. Each wave coincided with a natural disaster. The first wave was preceded by a storm that damaged networks and electricity. The second wave came before a tornado that destroyed buildings. The third wave occurred during a severe drought, until the zombies were completely eradicated. But for those living in the apocalypse, it was an extremely difficult and terrifying time. Perhaps it was our lack of environmental care that caused nature to seemingly add fuel to the fire just before each zombie wave. 9. Fortunately, the rain provided some cover. Otherwise, with these troubles, I couldn't ensure they wouldn't get bitten by zombies. When we encountered a zombie at the stairwell, at first they followed my instructions quietly, step by step avoiding the zombies, until we reached the 3rd floor. Amelia saw a zombie with a face smeared with blood and torn skin. Twisted in shape, the zombie was emitting a nauseating odor, and the spine it was frantically chewing on had been pulled from a body. Even Wesley's father and mother were trembling all over. Amelia had never seen such a scene. Just a few steps up to the 3rd floor, she couldn't control her fear and made a noise. Hearing the sound, the zombie instinctively spat out the bone in its mouth and lunged towards Amelia. She was terrified, her fear causing Wesley's parents, who were carefully climbing up the stairs, to suddenly run upwards, completely forgetting about their adopted daughter behind them. Amelia, frightened by the limping zombie behind her, stumbled and fell, with the zombie's blood-stained fangs nearly reaching her calf. She grabbed Wesley and cried out, "Brother, save me!" Seeing her pulling at his trouser leg, Wesley panicked. "Amelia." As Amelia looked down and saw the zombie less than a meter away, she gritted her teeth thinking about pulling Wesley down to block the zombie, but just as she was about to act, I quickly descended with a dagger and swiftly decapitated the zombie. The severed head, with its mouth agape, fell down the stairs, and the zombie's body collapsed. Wesley and Amelia, stunned, inhaled sharply. I narrowed my eyes, scrutinizing their expressions. "No more screaming. If you don't want to draw attention or attract more zombies, you'd better behave." Amelia's face was pale, and although displeased, she couldn't argue. On the 8th day of the zombie outbreak, the water left by the storm had completely receded, darkness fell, and hordes of zombies staggered closer, about to crush the land. Those hiding in the lower floors, regardless of age or gender, were broken into by groups of zombies and torn apart. Women, children, men, and a few struggling elderly were overwhelmed by the zombie horde. Some zombies, their faces covered in thick blood, with mouths stretched almost to their jaws, the teeth jutting outward, seemed to chew on slices of meat. Everywhere was filled with the low growls of zombies. I didn't observe for long. The soundproofing here was relatively good, to hear more clearly. I opened the door a crack and faintly heard some knocking sounds from the floor below. "Please, someone with a kind heart, open the door." Sob, "I brought some food. My husband is dead. Just open the door and I'll do whatever you want." The woman's cries echoed to the skies, but far from eliciting sympathy, they only increased worries that her crying might attract the zombies. I closed the door, but Wesley's mother sighed beside me. "Isabella, that woman seems really pitiable. With no one to help her, maybe we should." "Mom," I interrupted her, speaking somberly, "I remember telling you all to stay put. If you're so overflowing with sympathy, I really wonder if I should throw you out too, Isabella. Wesley's father and Wesley both chided in unison. Wesley was the first to stand up, pointing at my nose in reproach. Mom is just being kind. Is it necessary for you to be like this? Seeing this, Amelia tugged at his arm, trying to stop him. Brother. My expression unchanged, I said nothing more. After all, speaking with those who might soon be dead was rather exhausting. The zombie horde didn't last long. It was just one night, and then things returned to how they were before, leaving only the homeless zombies behind. A month had passed since the end of the zombie wave, and there were 2 months left until the second wave. During this time, aside from gathering supplies, I had to face my brother and parents' hypocritical faces daily. They enjoyed the benefits I provided while sharing a few sentiments whenever they saw a survivor in distress. Little did they know, they were nothing without me. These days, to enhance vigilance, I had specifically arranged for them to take turns on duty morning, noon, and night. Yet, my so-called stepsister often approached me voluntarily, offering water and warmth. I didn't refuse her unusual warmth. When it was time for me to rest at night, Amelia came again. Sister, I hope I'm not disturbing your rest. I sat up from the bed, a slight smile on my lips. If I said you were disturbing me, would you leave? Amelia bit her lip, feeling guilty. I'm sorry, sister. I'm just afraid you still blame me. While observing my expression, she softly said, Sister, I was wrong before. I hurt you, took your family, took everything you deserved. Can you forgive me? I was tired of hearing this. I realized that every time she came to offer kindness, it always revolved around the word forgive, even trying to play the victim to gain sympathy. Looking at her, I gave a sinister smile. Amelia, look at us, we're all family, isn't it? What's there to forgive or not forgive? That's wonderful. Amelia became a bit uneasy under my gaze, although she smiled happily on the surface, handing me a bottle of mineral water. Sister, I'm on duty tonight. It's important to hydrate before sleep for better skin. I nodded slightly, taking the mineral water but not drinking it immediately, instead examining the bottle cap. Just as I was about to unscrew the cap to drink, from the corner of my eye, I noticed a hint of relief and excitement dissolve in Amelia's eyes. Suddenly, I remarked, Amelia, has anyone ever told you that mineral water bottles don't have pinholes? Amelia panicked immediately, and my dagger was already at her throat. Don't speak, you know, even if you scream for help, they can't save you. I smiled, a hint of sorrow in my expression. Amelia, you're really not behaving well. Do you really think I didn't know that you were deliberately delivering water these past few days to lower my guard? You know, I don't actually want to kill you yet, but you just had to provoke me. Amelia trembled all over, on the verge of tears. Sister, I was wrong. Did I allow you to speak? My smile deepened slightly, seemingly gentle. Yet my hand showed no mercy as I drew a bright red cut across her fair skin with the dagger. Terrified, Amelia clamped her mouth shut as tears uncontrollably streamed down her face. I closed the door, found a rope, and quickly tied her up like a mummy, also tearing off a corner of my own shirt to gag her. Looking at the shallow wound on her neck, I felt a twinge of regret. Everything was about to end, yet you had to disgrace yourself. I haven't decided how to deal with you yet. You'll stay here for now. Amelia's tears fell heavily, filled with fear and despair. The weather finally turned overcast, and apart from us, there were no signs of any other survivors in the entire apartment building. I watched Amelia's tear-streaked sleeping face. She had been crying all night and probably didn't have the energy to fuss anymore. Everything was ready, and I was about to draw a perfect close for them. After leaving the room, I closed the door. Isabella, have you seen Amelia? I haven't seen her all morning, Wesley asked, looking a bit accusatory. I couldn't help but smile. Brother, you forgot. Amelia was on night shift last night. She's asleep now. Wesley frowned but didn't say anything further, just shot me a fierce glare. Unbothered, I approached Wesley's parents and spoke directly. Mom and Dad, it looks like it's going to rain soon. Staying here isn't the safest option. When I was scouting for supplies earlier, I found that Qingyang University was undamaged by zombies. It might serve as a temporary refuge for us. That sounds well and good, but what about Amelia? I met Wesley's displeased gaze with a slight smile. Amelia is too tired. She won't be waking up anytime soon. I can take you first, and after you're settled, I'll come back for Amelia. How does that sound? How do I know you're telling the truth? Wesley was clearly still wary of me and started heading towards the master bedroom. No, I need to see Amelia. Watching his back, I thought about how I had saved his life and provided for him all these days. For a girl who wasn't even really his sister, he showed neither gratitude nor fairness. Such an ungrateful wretch. Wesley's father stopped him. Wesley, listen to your sister. Amelia is still sleeping. Don't disturb her. With his father's intervention, Wesley reluctantly stopped his attempt to check on Amelia. The rain came quickly, dodging zombies. I quickly led them to the biological laboratory. This place was like any other university lab, equipped with biosafety cabinets, ultra-clean workstations, a pharmaceutical refrigerator. And the only difference was that it contained boxes of formalin and all other necessary tools I had brought. Wesley's father and mother were educated and knew what these items were for. Isabella, why have you brought us here? Wesley tried to open the door, but I had already locked it. He twisted the knob a few times, to no avail, and became frantic. Isabella, open the door now. My eyes darkened and a faint smile crossed my lips as I picked up a rope from the box and slowly approached them. I forgot to tell you, I am not your biological daughter, your real daughter, Miss Wesley's family. When I refused to follow my mother's orders to kill, she died blocking a knife for me to save my life. Guess what were her last words to me before she died? Wesley and his parents were visibly shocked, their hearts pounding wildly, unsure how to react. She said she had long wanted to die, and the reason behind her suicidal thoughts was your carefully nurtured, faux daughter. Wesley's mother reacted as if she had been electrocuted, tears swirling in her eyes. That's impossible. I restrained my smile, finding her tears insincere. You didn't know, did you? Your real daughter, whom you've been searching for all over the world, has been in the same middle school as your faux daughter for 3 years. Amelia has been bullying her, and Amelia's prized grades were all achieved through cheating by your real daughter. I brought them here for no other reason than that this lab also connects to a specimen room. I tied up Wesley's father, Wesley's mother, and Wesley's hands and feet, and placed a bucket next to each of them. Wesley's mother continued to cry, her whole demeanor one of numbness. Wesley's father was no better, glaring at me furiously as if he wanted to devour me alive. You little beast, our family has treated you well. Why would you do this? Wesley, like a lamb to the slaughter, still tried to defend his faux sister. Isabella, you wild child. Amelia is so good. How could she possibly bully anyone? You must be jealous of her. Making this up, right? I scoffed, walked up to them, and sealed their mouths with duct tape, speaking softly. I am clear about my debts of gratitude and grievances. Rewards are due where gratitude is owed, and evils must be eradicated. Wesley seemed to want to say something else, his eyes cold as blades, filled with disgust and defiance. I smiled slightly. Don't worry, we are nominally family after all, and I'll make sure you receive VIP treatment. Pulling out a dagger, I gently traced Wesley's cheek with the flat of the blade, watching the fear gradually expand in his eyes, my lips curling into a warm, clean smile. Do you know, many people think that slashing wrists doesn't hurt, but they're all wrong. A regular person feels pain for a long time from just a small cut by a knife, let alone a deep one. On the arm, there are veins and arteries. If you cut a vein, the blood will clot in about 10 minutes and won't be fatal, but it's different with an artery. The artery on the wrist is about half a finger deep. Cutting it also severs countless nerves. It's not just about draining your blood, it hurts dozens to hundreds of times more than cutting a finger. Watching their faces turn various shades of fear, my gaze became nearly obsessed yet conflicted. The artery is also my least favorite spot. It's under high pressure and tends to spray everywhere. Picking up the bucket next to me, I grabbed Wesley's trembling arm, holding the dagger in one hand and steadying his wrist with the other. Don't move. I've taught myself anatomy and know where the blood vessels are, but if you move and I cut the wrong spot, I won't mind making an extra cut. Wesley shook his head frantically, squirming on the ground like a caterpillar. I noticed that his trousers were wet, with a suspicious liquid flowing beneath him. I frowned in disgust, located the pulsation points, and deftly made a fresh cut on each of his hands. The depth was moderate, not enough to kill him immediately, but sufficient to make him endure both fear and pain. As the blood gushed out, I quickly placed his bound hands into the bucket. Turning to Wesley's parents, I showed no mercy, humming a tune non-stop as I went about my business. Their gazes shifted from initial shock to gradual despair. When they looked at me again, it was as if they were seeing a terrifying monster. By the time I returned, it was already 5 in the afternoon. Considering the time, Amelia hadn't eaten in almost a day. The zombies in the stairwell had mostly been taken care of. During the few hours I was gone, someone indeed had broken in. I walked slowly, hearing noises from the master bedroom as if someone was struggling and kicking the walls. It must be Amelia. I didn't rush in but instead looked around. The apartment was a 3-bedroom with a living room, neither too big nor too small, spanning 100 to 120 square meters. The only hiding spots were under the bed, behind the closet doors, behind the fridge, and beneath the sofa. Checking each spot one by one was clearly passive. As darkness approached, and with no electricity, the living room would soon be enveloped in darkness. Click, the sound of the door lock turning. Amelia had somehow untied herself, holding a blood-stained kitchen knife in her hand. I guessed someone had given it to her. Her hands trembled, the corners of her eyes bloodshot. Far from her usual frail demeanor, I watched her clumsy grip on the knife and couldn't help but sneer. What, you're going to attack me, Isabella? Die, Amelia said with venomous eyes. With no technique, she charged at me, stabbing in my direction. I smiled subtly, my dark eyes mysteriously frightening. As Amelia lunged, I dodged sideways, avoiding her knife and tripped her, making her fall hard on the ground. I kicked away her knife and stepped on her hand, pressing down repeatedly until I heard the sound of bones cracking. Ah, Amelia screamed in pain, writhing on the ground. Amelia, even if you teamed up with that person, so what? This is the apocalypse. Survival of the fittest. Strength is what counts. Do you think your little schemes will still work? After all, you're just a pampered rich girl, who would really want to help you. I looked down at her from above. And you're afraid of me, aren't you? I've tormented you many times, and it's always been effective. After all, it's not common for a dog to bite its master, right? She seemed shocked by my words, her face turning pale. Remember Lily? Amelia paused, and I pressed harder, causing her immediate pain and pleas. Stop stepping. I remember. I nodded in satisfaction, squatting down to whisper in her ear. You bullied her, took everything from her, you should taste her pain. Hearing this, Amelia started to laugh. Isabella, you're just a twisted freak. You think you're a savior, but you're just as cruel and bloodthirsty as your deranged mother. Stop making excuses, you're only satisfying your twisted desires. And that slut Lily, I was planning to have some guys take turns with her before graduation. How did she die? Right, dealing with a freak like you. She deserved what your mom did to her. I forcefully gripped her chin. I've never thought of myself as a good person, but how can you live off someone else's life for 15 years and still hurt others without remorse? You call me twisted. What does that make you? If anyone's to blame, it's her own bad luck. Not like I wanted to trade places. It's her fate. She had it coming, Amelia said. Amelia, you remind me of a certain bird. On the surface, you appear harmless, but deep down, you're profoundly malicious. This bird is both wicked and lazy at heart, relying on deception to usurp nests for reproduction. How are you any different from them? What gives you the right to speak such cold words? Out of the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of a figure in the depths of the master bedroom's porch. Right, as death approaches, all you have left is your venomous tongue. I pulled out a dagger and cut off Amelia's tongue, then stabbed her repeatedly in the abdomen. As she lay dying, I poured the formalin I had prepared onto her wounds. Formalin can preserve, but once it contacts human flesh, it corrodes it. That should be punishment enough for her. Blood pooled on the floor, and Amelia, her mouth full of blood, was unable to speak or move her hands, struggling in pain on the ground. Jordan emerged from the master bedroom, Amelia's bloody tongue lying at his feet. Long time no see. Miss Isabella, you certainly didn't disappoint me. Jordan, an infamous villain, was like my biological mother, both skilled in deception. His modus operandi involved turning living people into specimens. He had killed numerous people, and after my mother was shot, he had caused several bouts of social panic. The police had been investigating, but due to the vast search area and the randomness of the crimes, it was difficult to pinpoint a suspect. Later, with the outbreak of the zombie virus, he became even more reckless and developed a taste for human flesh. Jordan knew my biological mother, otherwise, he wouldn't have pursued me like a hunter stalking its prey through 10 cycles of reincarnation, even brazenly stating his desire to eat me. Until the apocalypse ended, he was eventually captured by the military and died by gunfire. I think, to a large extent, the survivors in this apartment were killed by him. The reason he hadn't acted until now was merely to use Amelia to witness a game of prey killing each other. He and my biological mother were cut from the same cloth, enjoying manipulating others and filled with indifference. In fact, I had always known he was tracking me. From the second day after I left, I monitored their every move from the back door of a nearby villa. Initially, I was just being overly cautious, but with Jordan's appearance and the reincarnation of my fake sister, I discovered new amusement and tactics. Amelia not only remembered the 9 times I tormented her, but she also revealed my true identity to Wesley's parents. They clearly didn't believe in such unscientific phenomena, otherwise, they wouldn't have been so easily deceived by me into coming to Qingyang University, becoming part of the specimen room, and even after the apocalypse ended, the military discovering these specimens would think they were Jordan's work. As for the message Amelia sent me 3 nights later, it was indeed because they were desperately hungry since Jordan had entered the villa, agreed with her, and took all their food. Unfortunately, Amelia miscalculated. Jordan was never going to help her, he was just using her to lure me out. Since that was the case, I also decided to use his plan against him, keeping them a bit longer to create perfect specimen models. Maybe it's a case of twisted minds thinking alike, otherwise I wouldn't continually be called a kindred spirit by Jordan, nor would he insist on challenging me. I don't consider myself normal either. After all, I wasn't as devastated by Lily's death as I had imagined. Even the tears I shed in front of the police, I'm not sure if they were for Lily, or just to avoid suspicion. I stared up at Jordan, towering over me, and made up my mind. Facing an opponent so much stronger than myself, my usual strategy was to strike first and catch him off guard. If I could just immobilize him briefly, I had a chance to take him down with a single move. I moved swiftly, using the cover of darkness to hide and change direction, lunging with a dagger towards his blind spot. The sharp blade grazed a shallow mark on Jordan's neck. It didn't hit its mark. Jordan reacted quickly, seizing my wrist that held the knife and squeezing lightly, causing intense pain that made me drop the dagger. He grabbed my kicking leg easily and pinned me to the ground. Ignoring my struggles, Jordan wrapped his arms tightly around my waist while his legs heavily pressed down on mine, immobilizing me completely. He couldn't help but sniff at my neck. Intoxicated by the scent of a young woman, I initially wanted to turn you into a specimen, make you my perfect piece of art, but you're too tempting. I can't resist the urge to devour you, Jordan said with a sinister laugh, and in the darkness, he opened his mouth wide, ready to bite deeply into my flesh. Never underestimate a psychopath's biting force. It rivals that of zombies. Almost instantly, I reached into my pocket for a small knife I had prepared earlier. Using what reach I had, I stabbed it into his thigh. I exerted all my strength, and in that instant, the 8-centimeter knife embedded itself into his bone. No matter how formidable he was still flesh and blood, incomparable to those zombies that could block out pain. Jordan stiffened suddenly, and I took the opportunity to break free from his grasp, disappearing into the pitch-black darkness. All around was pitch black, and Amelia on the ground wasn't dead yet, writhing in pain, her rapid breaths the only sound. Using his excellent night vision, Jordan picked up a scalpel and began searching the living room, scrutinizing every potential hiding spot, the sofa, tables, chairs, and the refrigerator. Stop playing hide and seek, my dear, it won't be just a simple devouring if I catch you, he taunted. The footsteps slowly drew nearer. I hid behind the refrigerator, my heart pounding. I checked the tools I had on me, finding a piece of rope. After checking behind the sofa, Jordan moved towards the refrigerator. The footsteps grew louder and closer. When he was mere centimeters away, I pounced, seizing the moment before he could react. I grabbed both ends of the rope and looped it around his neck, pulling back forcefully. Jordan struggled in pain, the scalpel plunging deep into my arm. With each pulse, blood dripped more freely, yet I felt no fear, and bit down on his hand. The moment he flinched from the pain, he let go of the scalpel, desperately lacking oxygen. His hands flailed wildly. Thankfully, my mother had trained me in physical fitness since I was young, though I couldn't match his strength head-on. I had enough to strangle him. Jordan lasted a grueling 20 minutes, tougher than I had anticipated. 98 days later, as the second wave of the zombie outbreak hit, I had already relocated to a basement hideout. A tornado swept through the city, turning skyscrapers into rubble in an instant. Not just zombies, but various debris circled in the tornado's core, becoming lethal weapons. Approaching meant certain death. In the city, only a few survivors remain. And many of those who have made it this far are not the best of people. This has been the case for generations, and it remains so today. Beyond my ability to change, I've seen too many engage in looting, killing, and abandoning their families, with groups fighting each other over interests. In this apocalyptic world, there are no friends, no family, no right or wrong. Only survival is the ultimate truth. But isn't the very essence of being human our ability to discern right from wrong? Even in the absence of order and law, as humans, we should embody virtue rather than vice. At the very least, we shouldn't harm our fellow beings to ensure our own survival. The saying goes, if no one offends me, I offend no one, but if someone offends me, I will retaliate. Everyone should maintain their own moral boundaries, otherwise, we are no different from animals. The third wave of a zombie outbreak came 300 days into the apocalypse. A severe drought had hit. And with the relentless heat, water supplies were cut off. Before this, I had collected many airdropped supplies and had a good stock of bottled water. It lasted until the zombies were completely eradicated, and a large contingent of military vehicles crossed through the streets. I heard the sounds of people cheering and rejoicing. I knew the apocalypse had ended, yet, I couldn't feel happy. My name is Isabella, the daughter of a serial killer, since I can remember. My mother taught me how to torture animals. The first gift she ever gave me was a German military dagger. She taught me how to use it, showed me the various weak points on animals and humans, instructing me where to strike for maximum effect. She even demanded daily high-intensity physical training from me, like leg kicks, sit-ups, and push-ups, if she caught me slacking. Her first action upon returning would be to lock me in a cage without food for a day and night, in public. She always appeared gentle and kind, always smiling, but in front of me, she was perpetually cold. My mother would leave the house every day, sometimes returning late, sometimes not for days. Over time, I learned to cook and to be like my mother, charming others to win their favor for the necessities of life. Whenever she returned, I felt no joy, as I could always smell a strong fishy scent on her, like the smell of blood. I knew what it meant but never spoke of it. Under her long-term psychological control, I increasingly wanted to escape her grasp. In middle school, I was socially adept, easily gaining my classmates' favor and gradually understanding the manipulations of this age group. School was divided into bullies and the bullied. Such was life, with people mockingly superior to others. I despised them, yet I remained objective. One day, while on my way to a part-time job, I saw several schoolgirls surrounding another girl, slapping and kicking her. With a fashionably dressed girl recording it all. Initially, I didn't pay much attention. Later, I learned from classmates that the bullied girl was isolated because she was disliked by another girl in her class. Her name was Lily. Every time after school, I would see her getting bullied in different places, perhaps out of some personal bias. I gradually got close to her. After getting to know her, I realized she was more introverted, sensitive, and frail than I thought. Always lacking confidence and continually doubting herself due to minor issues, Lily's parents were divorced, and she lived with her father, who always belittled her. After her father remarried, her life became even more difficult. Every time her father went to work, her stepmother would find various reasons to vent her anger on her. Even though she was an excellent student, she was constantly bullied at school by a girl named Amelia. Amelia would have thugs corner her, force her to eat grass from the roadside, lick shoes, eat chalk, and place disgusting liquids on her chair. They would even post videos of themselves slapping her on social media to show off. All of this was instigated and directed by Amelia. Each of these acts was incredibly malicious. All I could do was comfort her when she was sad, allowing her to release her emotions. Although I'm not very knowledgeable about the law, I remember well what my teachers taught me in class. I once asked her why she didn't call the police, and she told me despondently that it was useless. I thought she was just scared, so I once called the police deliberately when Amelia was making a video of her kneeling down. The police arrived quickly, and everyone involved was detained. Teachers and parents from the school came too, but what awaited Lily was not justice, but her father's insults and slaps. Amelia, backed by the juvenile protection law and her parents' influence in the city, got off with just a verbal warning, video deletion, a written promise, and an apology, along with a small amount of compensation for emotional distress. My first reaction to this outcome wasn't sadness for Lily, but an unprecedented excitement. I knew my opportunity had arrived. From the beginning, my approach to Lily was never out of kindness. Since middle school, I had been looking for the right person. This person had to be someone who had been abandoned and ridiculed by everyone. Only then would they be valuable, because only then would I be the only one she would desperately protect. And that right person was Lily. My mother is beautiful and shrewd, usually deceiving others with her superb acting skills, always cautious even around me, given the technology was not very advanced at that time. I still haven't caught her in the act of murder. But she has one fatal flaw: she cannot stand her territory being infringed upon. Later, I would warmly invite Lily to my house, and she gradually moved from being shy to accepting the invitations. Whenever she was upset, she would come to my house for comfort, and our relationship became increasingly close. My mother did not disappoint my expectations. One night, she caught Lily and threatened me to kill her. It was the first time I saw such undisguised excitement in my mother's eyes. Like a demon from hell, in my plan, I refused her, angered her, and naturally fell at a disadvantage in our fight. Lily, trying to save me, got stabbed and bled to death. I will always remember her agonized, twisted face. Although she was in pain, she insisted on shaking her head at me, squeezing out the words with her dying breath. I've wanted to die for a long time, Isabella. Live well for me. After Lily's death, I found her diary, disappointed by her biological family. Amidst the recent uproar about Wesley's family searching for their daughter, Lily had secretly investigated her own origins and had always known that Amelia's parents were her real parents. She had called the police before, but just as before, it was useless and only led to more intense retaliation. Even at the police station, she witnessed her biological parents' unlimited doting on Amelia, no matter how big the mistake. Amelia just had to act spoiled and pitiful to receive the indulgence and care Lily could never even dare to dream of. In that moment, Lily knew clearly, even if she were to be accepted into that family, there would still be no place for her. She gave up, and I took her place. Soon after I joined Wesley's family, Lily's parents and brother showered all their affection on Amelia. Anything she wanted, she would fight me for it. Relying on her status in the household, she constantly provoked me. She not only enjoyed bullying others but also liked to play the weakling in front of me. Calling her pitiable was an overstatement. To make me submit, Amelia even got the thugs who had bullied Lily to attack me, but her plan backfired. I dealt with those thugs, and they ended up being detained. I started to retaliate, but my brother and parents sided with Amelia. That brainless, deluded brother of mine always thought I was jealous of her, and believed that I was the one bullying her. Then, when the zombie outbreak occurred, I tormented them across 10 lifetimes. In the first lifetime, as they emerged from the basement, I pushed them one by one into the zombies and watched them get devoured. In the second lifetime, I killed them directly. In the third, I chopped them into pieces and threw them into a horde of zombies. In the fourth, I started studying dissection and used them as my subjects. In the fifth, I cut out their tongues, severed their limbs, and turned them into helpless creatures. In the sixth, I raised them only to have them kill each other. Including this 10th life, I made them suffer 10-fold, 100-fold the pain Lily endured. On a lush, vibrant afternoon, I sat alone by Lily's grave. Lily, it's been a long time, I haven't visited you. There's something on my mind I need to tell you. From the beginning, I was using you. I approached you just to understand your situation better and to gain your trust. I know you won't forgive me after hearing this, but I still need to say, I'm sorry. And Amelia, I made her experience the pain you went through. Everything is over now, and I will heed your advice to live well. Lily's side story too. When I was 8, my dad discovered my mom's affair. From then on, he began drinking heavily and came home late from work, frequently losing his temper and hurling the vilest insults at my mom. All I could do was hide in my cramped bedroom, listening to their arguments and the sound of breaking bottles and jars. Gradually, as my dad grew tired of fighting, the way he looked at me changed. I was too young to read emotions in someone's eyes, but I could still faintly sense his barely concealed hostility. After my parents divorced and my dad remarried, my already fragmented life got even worse. My dad despised me, and my stepmom abused me. At school, just because some peers disliked me, I faced ostracism. Once, while I was washing dishes, I accidentally broke a plate. Upon seeing this, my stepmom flew into a rage. Worthless girl, can't even wash dishes properly. What good are you? She grabbed a broom from the corner and started beating and kicking me, her words venomous as if laced with poison. Your dad is a failure too, earns so little, always complaining. No wonder his ex-wife ran off with someone else. marrying such a loser. You really deserve to be cheated on. If it weren't for your father, I wouldn't have ended up like this. It's all your dad's fault. You're no better, looking just like a child born out of wedlock with your mother's affair. No wonder your dad despises you. My stepmother's beatings grew fiercer. I didn't care about the insults, but when she revealed those cruel truths and shattered my last hopes, it felt as though someone was slicing through my soul. Before my parents started fighting, my dad used to care about me. He would stand up for me like other parents did for their children. He used to ask if I was being bullied at school. Even if I came home late, he would panic like any other father. When did it all start to change? Maybe it was when he found out about my mom seeing someone else, or perhaps it was when he heard the neighborhood gossip. I finally understood the suspicion and disgust hidden in his gaze every day. Tears inevitably slid down my nose. There was a moment when I wished I knew nothing. Always submissive, I grabbed my stepmother's broom and struggled against her. Even in such circumstances, I chose to defend my father. Don't you dare talk about my dad like that. I won't allow it. But it was futile. I was left bruised, and my dad paid me no attention. Even when he spoke, he just looked at me coldly. Lily, I work hard enough already. Earning money every day isn't easy. And you, just a consumer at home. Can't you understand a bit? But it wasn't always like this. The dad I knew before wouldn't look at me with such unfamiliar eyes. When I had a fever, he would carry me to the hospital. If I was hurt, he would gently pat my back and soothe me. Lily, it's okay, Dad is here with you. Now, after being punished, I was locked in my room, not allowed to come out for meals. He didn't even glance at me. At school, Amelia didn't let me off either. She provoked the whole class to ostracize me, forcing me to do her homework, sometimes during tests. She would drag me into helping her cheat. After school, she would join up with thugs to beat me for about 35 minutes. Tired out, she would then force me to do humiliating things to record and boast about in her circle of friends. I couldn't understand why she hated me so much. One day, while kicking my stomach and laughing loudly, she revealed a long-hidden truth. Lily, do you know what I hate most about you? It's your face. The more I look at it, the more disgusted I get. You say your dad doesn't care, your mom cheats, and your family's scandals are all over the place. How can you still show your face at school? Why don't you just die? Later, I found out that Amelia wasn't really her parents' child. There had been a mix-up. Her targeting me was because I bore a striking resemblance to her real mother. With this realization, I secretly checked my birth certificate. Everything came to light, but I wasn't as happy as I thought I'd be, because after Amelia drove me to a mental breakdown, I finally chose to protect myself legally. But the outcome of the wait broke me again. Amelia's bullying intensified. At that moment, I felt abandoned by everyone. The whole world didn't seem to want me anymore. I drifted as if I had no place to belong. I started having nightmares every night. Waking up in the middle of the night, the feeling of abandonment returned, never healing. Everything in my life was stitched together like a blanket. I thought there was no hope left in my life. That was until one day, when I was cornered by some thugs and thought I was about to endure another heartbreaking beating. A girl appeared. Her name was Isabella. Isabella was a serene and warm girl, gentle and soft-spoken, always carrying herself with grace and gentleness. Every time I saw her, I could feel a warm aura about her. She was like a little sun, subtle yet warm, calm but fiery. Always wearing the purest of smiles, she encouraged and comforted me. She showed up whenever I was sad. Gradually, she became my first friend. Sometimes, I asked her why she always smiled, and she told me, smile through everything. A girl who smiles often won't have bad luck. Inspired by her, I learned to smile, even when she called the police with good intentions and my father scolded me. I didn't blame her. I would wait for her near her school as she got out. And I saw boys confessing to her in front of everyone. Isabella was very gentle. Even when she rejected them, she did so clearly and decisively, leaving no room for fantasy. I envied her and asked, it must be nice to be liked by someone, right? But Isabella just dimmed her smile and said nothing. I thought Isabella was a very happy girl. After all, she was so gentle, loved by many, and her family must be filled with warmth and harmony. That was until I visited her home and heard her say, Lily, let me tell you something. I come from a single-parent family. My mom rarely comes home, and I grew up with help from neighbors since my dad died early. I have to stay alone in this rundown house. You are the first friend I've brought home. Perhaps out of empathy, fearing she felt lonely, I started visiting her often. One evening, as it was getting dark, she suddenly took my hand and held it tightly. Be careful. There have been many disappearances lately. And the victims turned into specimens. We should avoid taking shortcuts. Don't go home alone. It's better to be safe from criminals. Isabella spoke earnestly, every word showing her concern for me. I felt both happy and warm inside. Holding her hand tightly, overwhelmed with emotions, I said one word, okay, Isabella, you will always be my good friend.